Good evening and welcome to the April 2025 meeting of the Omaha Public Power District Board of Directors. Thank you all for joining us in person at the Omaha Douglas Civic Center and remotely via WebEx. I hope you and your loved ones are staying safe and healthy. With me in person today are my fellow board members, Mike Kavanaugh, John Hudson, Craig Moody, and Eric Williams. Amanda Bogner, Sarah Howard, and Mary Spurgeon let me know ahead of time they would be unable to attend. We also have COO Troy Vai, Troy Meyerson, our general counsel with the Fraser Stryker Law Firm, and members of our board meeting support staff. OPPD's executive leadership team and subject matter experts also are participating in today's meeting in person and via WebEx. Additionally, we currently have 20 members of the public at the Civic Center and 17 attendees on WebEx, consisting of OPPD employees and members of the public. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'll now ask a member of OPPD's physical security team to provide the safety briefing for our location.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending. We'll go through a quick safety briefing. As we know, the fire alarms are located on either side of us, along with fire suppression materials and also the emergency exits. If we had to exit the building, we'd use those exits to go directly outside. In the event of any type of severe weather, hopefully, fingers crossed, it's going to go to the north of us. But if we needed to take shelter, we'd follow the direction of the deputies, and then we'd go down through the stairwell into the lower garage parking area where we would take shelter. So if we can move to the next. Also, with any type of briefing that we give in any type of OPPD meeting, we run through these same physical and psychological safety checkpoints. So we'll run through those real quick. Hopefully no one's feeling ill today. If you are, you should be at home getting rest, getting hydration. Again, we have locations of our AEDs, fire suppression, and then also first aid materials. We also have extra materials with us today. So if anybody needs any assistance, please just let an OPPD staff member or the deputies that are in attendance as well, and we'll get you help as quickly as possible. Watch out for environmental hazards. Like I said, we do have the risk of severe weather, so please be prepared for that. And then always be prepared to run, hide, or fight in any type of serious situation. Along with that, we want to make sure that everybody understands our meetings are meant to be respectful. We do want to hear healthy conflict and hear from multiple perspectives. This is a trusting environment and one where OPPD promotes a culture of curiosity. And then one last final reminder, we all have very important digital environments that we work in and out of, and always be wary of any suspicious emails. And that also carries over to any suspicious text messages or phone calls. So always be careful of those and report those to your cybersecurity professionals, as well as any other managers and supervisors. So with that, have a great meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Now let's run through our guidelines for the conduct of the meeting. The regular board meeting will follow the agenda made available to the public on OPPD.com. This meeting is being conducted in person with WebEx conferences and is being recorded. Our board meetings have public comment periods on the agenda. Comments made by all parties during the meeting are a part of the official public record. After the induction of action items, board members will ask clarifying questions of staff, and then I'll ask for public comment. After public comment, the board will conduct its discussion of the matter and then vote. Also, before we adjourn, there will be an opportunity to comment on any other matters of district business. We will take comments in the room first and then via WebEx. For in-person attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please line up behind the microphone. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we'll use the timer that is in this room. Ms. Lane will signal you when 30 seconds remain, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please deliver them to Ms. Lane. For WebEx attendees, if you wish to make a comment, please send the meeting host a message using the chat feature or utilize the hand raise feature. Detailed instructions can be found on the OPPD website at the link shown on the screen. When I call on a member of the public to speak, please affirm that we can hear you before commencing with your comments. Please state your name, address, and the name of any organization or person you represent. Each individual will be allotted 3 minutes per matter pending. To assist you, we'll use the timer on the screen and signal you when you have 30 seconds remaining, as well as when time is up. If you have written materials, please email them to corporatesecretary@oppd.com, and they will be received on our behalf. For all attendees, please direct your comments to me. I'll either respond to you directly or defer response to another board member or officer of the district. The board values and welcomes civil, respectful, clear, and concise communication from the public. During public comments, speakers should refrain from repetitious, profane, or irrelevant comments. Speakers shall refrain from polling the board, as such vote is not on the agenda and is prohibited by law. Ms. Lane, will you please take the roll?
Director Bogner is absent. Director Kavanaugh,
Here.
Director Corr,
Here.
Director Howard is absent. Director Hudson,
Here.
Director Moody,
Here.
Director Spurgeon is absent. Director Williams.
Here.
Notice of the time and place of this meeting was publicized by notifying the area news media, by notifying the Omaha World Herald and Nebraska Press Association, OPPD outlets newsletter, OPPD.com, and social media, by displaying such notice on the arcade level of Energy Plaza, and by emailing such notice to each of the district's directors on April 11, 2025. A copy of the proposed agenda for this meeting has been maintained on a current basis and is readily available for public inspection in the office of the district's corporate secretary. Additionally, a copy of the Open Meetings Act is available for inspection on OPPD.com and in this meeting room. The consent agenda action items are as follows. Item 6, approval of the December 2024, January 2025, and February 2025 financial reports, March 2025 meeting minutes, and the April 17, 2025 agenda. Item 7, SD5 customer satisfaction monitoring report, resolution number 6700. Item 8, SD14 retirement plan funding monitoring report, resolution number 6701. Item 9, RFP 6189 cast to Sarpy transmission project insulator and hardware contract award, resolution number 6702. Item 10, RFP 6180 SC3 exhaust silencer baffle replacement contract award, resolution number 6703.
Thank you. If there are no corrections, changes, or additions to the consent agenda items, I need a motion and a second to approve them.
So moved. Second.
We discussed all these action items at the all committees meeting on Tuesday, March 18th. Are there any members of the public in the room that have comments on these consent agenda items? If so, please come to the podium. All right, seeing none, are there any members of the public on WebEx that have a comment? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Okay, with no comments online either, Ms. Lane, please take the roll.
Director Bogner, absent. Director Kavanaugh,
Yes.
Director Corr,
Yes.
Director Howard is absent. Director Hudson,
Yes.
Director Moody,
Yes.
Director Spurgeon is absent. Director Williams.
Yes.
Motion carried 5-0. The board discussion action item is item 11, SD4 reliability monitoring report, resolution number 6704. Now therefore be it resolved that the Board of Directors of the Omaha Public Power District hereby accepts the SD4 reliability monitoring report in the form as set forth on Exhibit A attached hereto and made a part hereof, and finds OPPD is taking reasonable and appropriate measures to comply with the policy as stated.
I move the approval of the resolution.
And is there a second?
Second. We discussed this monitoring report on Tuesday and in the systems committee leading up to the meeting on Tuesday. And we have, in summary, another excellent monitoring report about the reliability of OPPD to our customers in all customer classes. And so I'm glad to see the recommendation to accept the report, specifically that we are taking reasonable and appropriate measures to comply. From the report on Tuesday, there are 5 areas that we have kind of metrics or specific measurements. And in 4 of those areas, we are meeting and achieving what our customer owners have asked us to and expect us to achieve. We did highlight on Tuesday there is one area where we feel there is some additional room for improvement in the area of reduced forced generation outages. And so that's what led to the recommendation of reasonable and appropriate measures complying with the policy. I've had a lot of comments about this in the past, and I'm glad to be on the systems committee where we have an opportunity to discuss it broadly. There are a few areas where I would like to see some additional discussion in the future. We highlighted on Tuesday that a majority of the customer outage events and minutes are due to distribution system impacts. And I think that there is a huge opportunity for us to investigate the benefits of distributed energy resources to help reduce those distribution system impacts in the future. And that isn't generally considered in the way that we have their monitoring report assembled today. So I think as we look toward the expansion of solar and storage and electric vehicles at homes and other grid interactive devices, I think we're going to find that there is a significant amount of value, and that value, under most circumstances, can help with normal grid operations. But as we talk about with reliability in this monitoring report, there is also an additional advantage when there are outages to customer owners, specifically in a resilience capacity. So I look forward to some additional discussion in the Systems Committee and as we go into the IRP next year to support and expand our programs for distributed energy resources, because I believe that there is a significant amount of benefit in this particular strategic directive and the way that we measure those outages from those types of resources. So I look forward to more discussion there. I'm going to leave it there, and I'd be glad to hear from others if they have any specific thoughts about the monitoring report that the Systems Committee presented, and how we might improve in the future.
All right. Are there any members of the public in the room that have comment on this action item? Please come to the podium if you'd like to make a comment.
David Bagley, 4611 South 96th Street. So Director Williams used a phrase I'm not familiar with, forced generation disruption or something like that. I mean, just call it what it is. It's a blackout. It's a blackout because of a failure. Yeah, sure it is. It's a blackout because of a failure. You don't have enough power. So I don't know what your report says, but I got this here from Utility Drive. Industry Magazine says, SPP's CEO says, quote, excess generating capacity is dwindling, and it's dwindling to a point where it's becoming dangerous. Forced blackouts in SPP because this entire group doesn't have enough power because you got too much intermittent solar and wind. And later on in this article, which I surely hope you all read, SPP has got to spend $7.7 billion for new transmission. You're going to be assessed some of that because you're an SPP. The other thing here I brought from Wall Street Journal, January 1st, 2025, a fellow by the name of Bjorn Lomberg, who's actually he's an environmentalist, but he says here, modern societies need around-the-clock power, reliability, in other words, requiring backup, often powered by fossil fuels. That means we're paying for two power systems, renewables and backup. I looked at Fort Calhoun the other day. I don't remember exactly when you closed. It was about 10 years ago or so. And out in Colfax County, some OPPD person said, well, it'd be 10 years before we could build another nuclear power plant. You should have been working on that back then. What you've added is a bunch of intermittent power. I mean, your engineers forced you to build these two nat gas facilities. And then Mr. Lundberg says, well, real cost of solar power on average is twice as much as that of coal in China. And then here's a killer line. For every 10% increase in solar and wind share, the electricity costs increase by more than 5 cents a kilowatt hour, which is entirely consistent with the Center for the American Experiment has said. And that's exactly why Germany, California, Denmark, and Spain have much higher power prices than the US. So you're adding all this intermittent wind and solar, prices are going to go up. They're going to triple if you ever get to your net zero goal. And by the way, I was out in Colfax County last night, and you lost the vote. Your PPA guy says we got to have 1.1, and they said 1.5 on the setbacks. So goodbye, Colfax County, and you won one round in York County, but don't count on winning York County because those people are very big fighters. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Are there any other comments in the room on this topic? Seeing none, do any members of the public on WebEx have a comment? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand. Okay, with no comments online, Ms. Lane, could you take the roll?
Director Bogner is absent. Director Kavanaugh?
Yes.
Director Corr?
Yes.
Director Howard is absent. Director Hudson,
Yes.
Director Moody,
Yes.
Director Spurgeon is absent. Director Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Great, thank you. And now COO Troy Vi will give the president's report.
Thank you. So we'll start off here by talking about our baseload generation for the month of March. Baseload generally means coal in this particular case. And we focus on capacity factors. And just to make sure folks know what that means, capacity factors are utilization. So if you have a 100 megawatt unit that runs at its full output for the entire month, it would receive 100% capacity factor. So it's a utilization. Nebraska City 1 and 2, 100% available during the month, so really good production from that. And you see a capacity factor of 56 and 59% from those units. North Omaha 4 and 5, you see much lower capacity factors, and that was due to some outage work that we had. North Omaha 4 had basically we'd call a tune-up outage for the month, getting it ready for summer runs. And so that's cleaning, that's inspections, preventative maintenance, things of that nature. And North Omaha 5 was returned to service from a turbine outage that we had that started in January. Next slide, please. Our balancing stations, which are mostly natural gas, Cass County, Jones Street, Sarpy County are units that are very quick start. And you see quite an array of capacity factors for those, 13% for Cass County. We set a new record, I believe, of a 5-day continuous run on one of the Cass County units due to some congestion on the transmission grid. And as you see, Jones Street, very small at 1%, and Sarpy County at 8%. All three of those facilities had pretty much near 100% availability, so really good production there. Much lower capacity factors as we look at North Omaha 1, 2, and 3, which are also run on natural gas. Those used to be coal units several years ago. And you see we did see decent availability, but there were some natural gas restrictions during the month, which reduced their availability, but it didn't really impact their ability to run when needed. Next slide, please. All right, we had a pretty good month from a capacity factor standpoint for renewables with 48%. We would expect that this time of year. March and April tend to be fairly windy months, and so we had excellent production. You see 23.5% from our community solar and 19.7% with Platteview. Those deltas are usually much closer, and the reduction in the Platteview solar was due to some congestion on the grid that required the units to back down for a very short period of time. The wind capacity factor was strong at 47.4%. Next slide, please. All right, we talked about a little bit of potential weather tonight, but we'll talk about the storm that we recently saw on March 19th, where we saw pretty significant winds and ice and a snow event for approximately 18 hours. It's been kind of interesting over the last 18 months. Omaha in particular has been kind of a bullseye for these events as they've rolled through. We're not the only ones that have been impacted by these. Our surrounding utility neighbors have also seen some outages related to this. This one was kind of unique in the space that it was really heavy damage in our northwest rural areas, especially around North Bend, Fremont, and the Ashland areas. Something else that was kind of unique with this storm is the first day, the roads in many cases were impassable. So it took track equipment and much longer many times to get to the locations to start to work on this. At its peak, I think we had roughly 106,000 customers out. So pretty significant storm from that space. And we'll talk a little bit more on the next slide on maybe what the storm kind of looked like. So if you take a look in that upper left-hand corner, you can see one of our linemen with his hand around one of the lines in the air. So significant buildup of ice. We didn't necessarily see that in the metropolitan area, but in the rural area, we saw that, which, ice of that level on the spans would add thousands of pounds to each span of overhead conductors. So pretty significant in that particular space. We replaced 1,500 distribution poles and 71 transmission poles. Very seldom do we see impacts to transmission, but the significant weight of the ice and 70+ mile per hour winds caused several of these poles to topple over. We actually saw a lot more pole damage in this storm than we did in the July storm of this last year. With this, trees were a bigger issue in July. There were very little tree damage associated with this particular storm. I will say the teams responded pretty quickly. We were able to bring in mutual aid very quickly with over 700 mutual aid workers helping us restore power from all over the Midwest, and some of our surrounding utilities also received mutual aid during that particular time. We deployed over 1,000 resources in the field, so pretty substantial response from our standpoint. When we go through a storm like this and we start restoring some of the infrastructure on the fly, our engineers look and will sometimes re-engineer some of this. We'll change standards. We'll try to make it stronger for the next go around. And so we take those opportunities whenever we can to strengthen our system as we restore power. I want to make a call out to our supply chain group. They performed exceptionally well. They were pulling poles and conductor and things from Mississippi all the way up to Idaho. So lots of activity in that space. Never once did we not have what we needed to restore things in a timely manner. Something else we focused on pretty heavily in this last storm was an improvement in the way we forecast estimation of restoration times. That's more of an art than it is a science, I'll tell you, and it takes folks getting out in the field, understanding the damage, and starting to do some math. And we're definitely improving, not where we want to be yet, but definitely some focus in that particular area. And as an example, you may have areas that just have fuses blown. You may have areas with cross arms, which kind of hold the lines that have broken. And in this case, we saw a lot of poles, and that tends to be some of your longer restoration times. I will say the last couple of years too, OPPD has created a special program that focuses on weather hardening, and that is focused on generation and the grid with many investments that are showing up quite well, and including additional tree trimming, which definitely helped also in the storm. Next slide, please. All right, we want to recognize the OPPD team for 2 awards. The first one is the Storm Ready Community Partner Award. So the National Weather Service designated OPPD as a Storm Ready Community Partner for our work in supporting storm preparedness. So we have conversations with them. They interview us. They understand what we do, and we're impressed enough to send that award out. And secondly, OPPD was selected by the National Safety Council of the Nebraska chapter based on the strength of the way we log safety events. So not just when somebody gets injured, but we also log events that are potential injuries and share those throughout the district, which is good practice. And we also have very strong programs which drive a good culture of safety within OPPD. We obviously want people to go home safe every night, and we are happy that to be recognized in this area. Congratulations to the OPPD team members who have worked so hard to make this happen. All right, so most of you know that we're part of the Southwest Power Pool, which is kind of the lighter green portion of the map that you see on the left-hand side. Very recently, in March of 2025, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, which is called FERC, we often call them that, is approved SPP's request to expand its regional transmission organization into the western part of the United States, which you see in the darker green area. This move, SPP will become the first RTO in the country to operate in both the eastern and western interconnects. Most people don't realize this, but there are DC ties between the eastern and western interconnect, as well as Texas, that kind of separate the United States into 3 separate grids. Ultimately, the focus on having a regional transmission organization like this is to drive additional efficiencies across the different utilities, to share resources across utilities. This one's kind of interesting because you have utilities that are in different time zones than we are. So, that helps to shift power back and forth. There are some limited interfaces there, but long term, we see that is a positive thing. I think there were 7 utilities that were part of this additional group. So like to see the expansion, and definitely looking forward to see what Southwest Power Pool does with this change. Next slide, please. All right, every Wednesday, KETV in Omaha features a local nonprofit during its newscast to help generate donations. And in this particular case, there was a focus on OPPD's Energy Assistance Program, which they featured in March. And for March, we saw donations of almost 23,000, which is 43% increase over what we saw in February. As an example, in 2024, I think we raised a total of $370,000, which is used to help those in need to cover some of their utility costs. So it's a pretty good program. Employees, some customers, and we have the Heat the Streets that helps fund that. And we are very proud to say that we partner with United Way of the Midlands, who if a customer has interest, they can call 211, which is administered through them, and can help them not only in this space but other needs that they may have. Or you can go to our website, and there are other nonprofit providers that can help you gain assistance to this. But fantastic program that we have here to help our customers. Connecting the Dots is a partnership that OPPD has with UNL Extension Office, and it tends to focus in the rural parts of our service territory, and it allows OPPD employees and other local businesses to interact directly with these students to kind of help them think about future careers, where they might want to end up. For us particularly, we pull a lot of our trade folks from these rural areas, and so I know many of our linemen and some of our center supervisors go and are part of this to help show them what a career at OPPD might look like. Very proud in that space. In March and April, we will have held 3 exploration events with more than 300 students focused on the areas of Plattsmouth, Syracuse, and Arlington. So we really definitely appreciate this program and support it heavily. And last but not least, we have Michael here, who died in January of 1981 after making contact with a live circuit while working on a pad mount transformer on the west side of Elkhorn. He was 36 years old and was at OPPD for 12 years at this time. And I think that's good to focus on the fact he wasn't new. You know, he had lots of experience, and that just shows how important it is for us to continue to push our safety culture and make sure that there's good awareness within our business. He was survived by his wife, Carol, his sons, Jason and Alan, and his parents, 4 brothers and 1 sister. So we definitely recognize Michael at this time. And with that, I've completed the president's report.
All right, thank you. Next is the opportunity for comment on other items. Are there any members of the public that have a comment on other items of district business? If you'd like to make a comment, please come to the podium, state your name, address, and any organization you represent.
David Begley, 4611 South 96th Street. I'll remind the board that you're a political subdivision of the state of Nebraska, and with that comes some benefits and burdens. One of the benefits is you can issue the lowest interest rate bonds. It's tax deductible. Really haven't taken advantage of that. But as a burden, you have to comply with Nebraska and federal law. And it's always been a giant mystery to me as to why OPPD has its racist DEI program and its unreliable net zero program. And so the President of the United States has issued some executive orders, and I wrote to the Attorney General of the United States and asked her to investigate OPPD with respect to SD7, your, what is that? SD7 is your net zero, SD8 is your DEI racist policy. So I hope the Attorney General acts on that, and I'll remind you that the University of Nebraska system, they cut out their DEI program just last week because of what the president ordered. I wrote an article for the Nebraska Examiner, and I certainly hope you all read it because it covers the basic economics of solar and wind and why it is so foolish. And also, I'll say contrary to Nebraska law because it's unreliable. Then I received an email from a net zero person, and he says, I'm an educated, ignorant idiot, anti-American, communist sympathizing Trump supporter too. I'm also anti-farmer and anti-democratic. So, oh, and I'm also, I should consider moving to Russia. I don't think I will. But Then I sent a open records request. Again, Carson Sims promptly replied, asked about the renewable energy credits. Because your person that was on TV talked about them, said, well, it netted out to our benefit, to the OPPD's benefit, and 22 million bucks over 5 years. Now, I don't know how in the world, as a governmental entity, I don't know governmental accounting, I don't know how you conned the United States out of 22 million bucks for renewable energy credits, but I suspect that was the late great Ken Sharp, Fraser Stryker partner. You probably knew him, Troy. Super smart guy. So he got 22 million.
30 seconds.
So the last thing I have here is I've got reports from 3 different states, Pennsylvania, Mississippi, and North Dakota. I'll call you, well, Keywood is doing $10 billion in data centers, Mississippi 20 million, North Dakota 250 million. So Nebraska is lagging Mississippi and North Dakota. That is a giant embarrassment. You're supposed to be spurring economic development and you're getting passed by Mississippi and North Dakota. And that's a sad state of affairs. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the room that'd like to make a comment?
Hello, my name is William Harper. I'm a student at Creighton University and native of Omaha. I currently live at 4024 California Street, and I'm here today speaking in regards to the financial burden energy costs continue to have on the most vulnerable members of our community and across the district in both rural and urban areas. OPPD's energy efficiency programs are a good start, and I applaud the board for already taking direct, meaningful steps towards eliminating an energy burden that our community members face. However, these programs are currently missing their targets of achieving equality for energy burden. As rates increase, as seen with the January 8.4% rate hike, families will have to make difficult choices of being able to afford food, water, or power. OPPD is the only entity with household level electrical burden data, meaning you are uniquely prepared to take decisive action with data-driven decisions and make sure no one has to make those kind of trade-offs. I would encourage the board to take steps to expand the consumer assistance program, invest in programs for high energy burden households, and conduct community outreach on the ground through trusted neighborhood organizations. In addition to renewable energy goals, OPPD should set measurable goals for community participation, retrofits, and savings, as well as transparent reporting on progress towards these goals. In addition, many weatherization and efficiency programs are currently blocked from being accessed by those who need it most by the upfront costs. Instead of placing upfront costs on the consumer, OPPD should implement an on-bill financing program in which OPPD uses low-interest loans to encourage weatherization, efficiency, and independent adoption of renewable energy. This is already seen through your own Dollar Energy Savings Loan Program. I'm simply asking an expansion of that. Through these policies, we can ensure that OPPD energy continues to be not only affordable, but reliable, making sure everyone has a chance in the good life, and no one has to choose between putting food on the table or keeping the lights on. Thank you very much for your time.
Great, thank you for your comments. Are there any other members?
My name is Jad Musa Haddadine, and I'm a student at Creighton University and native of Omaha, living at 17634 Douglas Circle. And I'm here to urge OPPD to prioritize and incorporate energy justice and planning and programming in the city of Omaha. In Nebraska, over 30% of residents live in counties classified as disadvantaged, many of them in North and South Omaha and in rural low income and disadvantaged communities experience energy burdens of 15 to 20%, which is beyond the national 6% threshold. And these aren't just numbers, these are families, mostly low income, who are paying a disproportionate share of their income just to keep the lights on. When OPPD raises rates, it is these households that feel it first and hardest. And when efficiency programs are rolled out, these same communities are often the last to benefit, whether because of lack of awareness, landlord resistance, or other barriers. And this result is not just economic inequality, but also environmental and health inequity as well. This is also a structural problem. Historical redlining and unequal housing conditions have put certain communities at a disadvantage, And right now, many are still living in inefficient homes, facing rising bills and greater health risks, while those in more affluent zip codes benefit from upgrades and clean energy incentives. So finally, I urge OPPD to take leadership, invest directly in the neighborhoods that are most in need, help expand outreach and weatherization, and ensure that your energy policies don't leave the most vulnerable Nebraskans behind. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the room that'd like to make any comments? All right, seeing none, are there any members of the public joining via WebEx that have comments on other items of district business? Please send a chat to the meeting host or use the hand raise feature in WebEx. Telephone users can press *3 to raise their hand.
John Pollock.
And Mr. Pollock, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay,
Yes.
go ahead, sir.
John Pollock, 1412 North 35th Street in Omaha. Several items. I first want to thank all the hardworking people that helped get the power restored after the last big storm. In my personal estimation, this was not a 500-year storm, but quite a bit less in the light of climate change. What's happening is that to make an ice storm like that, you need cold air near the ground and warmer air coming in aloft with a lot of moisture. And this was a fairly unusual storm, but these types of storms with the air warm enough to cause freezing precipitation are becoming more frequent, and they're getting pushed further into the winter season from the spring season. So that means that while it might have been a 500-year storm in the past, that's not a way of looking at it for the future. I am encouraged to see that the SPP is expanding west, because particularly in the context of reliability, weather systems tend to go from west to east, and this gives you an increased overall reliability because you've got a larger area to harvest wind energy. Typically, if we've got light wind, if you go out to Wyoming, they're already having the next system coming in, and they would have stronger wind. Finally, for the current weather, of course, we are in a tornado watch. There are no tornado warnings yet. We do have a couple of severe thunderstorm warnings with large hail indicated. Those are a couple of hours west of us at the moment, so people would have time to get back home before the severe weather breaks. We are going to be cooler after that for a few days, but we are headed into a period of mild to warm and unsettled weather, probably a wetter pattern, which we need, but also an enhanced likelihood of severe weather for the next several weeks. I'd say 2 to 3 weeks after that, it's too early to tell. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments on WebEx? Okay, great. Without there being any other comments, this meeting is adjourned.